Okay, we are making a color mixing chart for our beginner class. So we are starting with, we have our colors here: ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, green shade, quinacridone red, Winsor yellow, and I have them up over here as well. And we're creating basically a grid. So if I take water and I just paint in this block, which is the Winsor yellow. So I have Winsor yellow and Winsor yellow in this block. So if I want to go across the row, I will take my Winsor yellow that I already have here, and I will add a touch of the quinacridone red to it, but I'm going to keep it mostly mixed with the lemon yellow. So I'm just going to add a little bit of that quin red to my my yellow. I'll say lemon yellow a million times probably, because I do teach with lemon yellow. So there we have a nice orange. If I take my phthalo blue, green shade here, and I add a little bit of the Winsor yellow, add a little bit of the blue to the Winsor yellow over here, I'm going to get a really nice green. If I take the Winsor yellow and I mix it with my ultramarine blue, mostly yellow still, I can get a different green, or an earthy green. Okay, if I take my quinacridone red, mostly quinacridone red, and add just a little bit. If I take my red, let's get a little more out there. Clean your brush, put a little bit of the yellow in there. I'm going to get a totally different color mixture. Now we've got a different red. The quin red itself looks like this. These spots you're seeing here is a problem with the paper. I've never had this with this Fabriano paper before, but apparently we're going to have this problem with this paper pad. So we'll just deal with it. Okay, the quinacridone red with the quinacridone red, of course, it's going to look just like this. Yeah, that's a sizing issue right there. This paper's been sized incorrectly. Sizing is just the coating that they put on the paper to make it absorb the watercolor evenly, and you can see it's not doing that, but that's okay. So this time we're mostly quinacridone red with a little bit of phthalo blue in there. So what we're trying to do, that's okay. What we're trying to do is to get some variations in color here. So if I take more of my red, and you have these puddles separately on your palette, I'm going to get another nice different violet. If I take my phthalo blue, and let's turn it this way just to make it easier. If I take my phthalo blue and I mix it, mostly phthalo blue with just a little Winsor yellow, let's get a little more yellow out there. I'm going to get a very different green. If I take my phthalo blue and I mix it with the quin red, I'm going to get a very different violet. If I take the phthalo blue and I mix it with phthalo blue, of course, it's phthalo blue. So that's a pretty easy one. So just put your phthalo blue down there. If it touches in the other colors, it's okay. Now, if I mix phthalo blue and ultramarine blue, let's do that over here. Then I get a very bright blue. That should have gone there. Uh-oh, wrong place. We'll correct that in a second. All right, so if I have ultramarine and I add a little bit, so if you made a mistake like this, the easiest way to correct this mixture is to just add a little bit of the yellow to what you already have here. So if I do that, just right over the top of the blue, I get a very nice, and that's just called glazing, very nice green there. And blot your brush off after you wash it. If I take the ultramarine blue and I add a little bit of the quinacridone red to it, I'm going to get a very nice color here. Which looks too much like this one. So let's push it a little bluer so we get a different color. There you go. That's what we want, a different violet. If I do the ultramarine and the phthalo blue again together, but this time mostly the ultramarine, let's clean our palette if we get too many mixtures going here at one time. Just take your paper towel and clean your palette. Be sure you clean it so you don't get, you don't end up making mud there. So ultramarine blue and a little bit of the phthalo blue. Phthalo blue is a very powerful blue, so we don't need much of it. More of the ultramarine. You get a different version of the blue. Last one, of course, is the straight ultramarine. So, there you have it. There's your color mixing chart for the beginners. And as you can see, just for these 4 colors, you can get a large variation in greens. And also, one other thing, if you want to mix a dark, if you mix the blue and the red and the yellow together, all 3, that would be the ultramarine blue. Ultramarine blue. A little more yellow. You can get a nice neutral. And a neutral is just basically a gray or a black. So you can just put that here to remind you that you can get a dark color mixing all 3 primaries together.